Okay, we are back live here at USCFootball.com with the old setup. We don't have the fancy graphics and all that kind of stuff. I'm back in my perch and let Keely go back over there so we can run this stuff. So I'm going to go in and insert this onto the USCFootball.com page because we had a different video embedded. So I'll let you two take over for a minute and I'll switch off. So here, I'll let you guys.
Well, let's welcome everyone back. Thank you for sticking with us through technical difficulties. We appreciate it. 1 week exactly today until the second signing day of this recruiting cycle.
Will be complete.
It will be complete. Recruiting will be complete.
Well, pretty much.
Should be.
Reminder that signing day does not mean that things are over. Signing day is just the first day of the signing period. So that's why everybody's called it ESP, is the early signing period, because there's a 3-day period now in December. The National Signing Day is just the first day. Why everyone decides they have to sign on the day, there's no real reason.
Fanfare?
Basically the fanfare. So it's become a national thing. So I'm interested to see how signing day kind of changes, how the coverage of it changes when a lot of classes are done. A lot of the Big Ten schools in particular, have filled out their entire allotment of scholarships. They've even gone over, and borrow them from earlier classes and later classes, different things like that. So we'll see how that works in regards, and how the coverage is a little bit different. I mean, we'll have USC is kind of in their usual position where they're waiting on a couple of signing day decisions. They look good on a couple of them, don't look good on a couple of other ones. So we'll see how they finish off and how many kind of announcements there actually are in Southern California for us to cover, and how kind of the coverage of the day is a little bit different too. So we'll see exactly how everything goes, and try to figure out how this will affect future recruiting classes too, and the coaches will have to kind of figure out, all right, well, we need to sign everybody early if we can, or they can say, okay, we saw if there was still some guys out there wanted to get. We'll see how that changes next year's recruiting classes too.
Mm-hmm. Also, what it means for potential transfers.
Yes, true. How many people that USC brings in will tell you how many scholarships will need to come available. As far as what is available right now with the scholarship charts. Ryan and I talked about it last week. Currently, there's 4 commitments. There are 82 players currently on or 82 players that received scholarships last year that will be on scholarship this year, including the punter and kicker that got theirs at the end of the season. So if you have 4 commits already, you only got 3 spots. You're going to have a couple other you think are coming in. How many people are going to have to leave? We'll see. How you have to, and how USC tries to open up those spots as well.
Yeah, really interesting. And as always, please leave your comments. We will answer them. You actually have my Facebook's going here. Are we going to be doing something for signing day, like a little shindig?
I don't think we're doing one this year. There's talk on the peristyle. Can people hear okay and everything now? Or are they like?
Daryl says much better.
Much better? Okay.
Daryl says I'm a little soft.
Here. Oh, yeah, I'll turn you guys up.
Because I don't have a mic on because I'm an idiot.
That's not technical difficulties. That's
stupidity.
Yes. We were kind of scrambling. I just wanted to make sure. So hopefully you can hear Keely better and stuff now. This is my old program. I can see mic levels. I can see what's going on.
The engineer is comfortable.
It seems like much better. I'll like listen in and.
Are we good? How do we sound?
Yeah, we're good.
That sounds lovely.
Yay!
As always.
So we'll figure that out for next time. But my old setup works. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I tweeted out the thing again, and then I changed it on the message board. I'm sure the people on the message board are like, what's going on? I'll go check that right now. But do you guys want to start with some of the Coliseum renovation stuff? Any thoughts? It was a pretty big event. Dan Weber was down there. My wife Jana was down there. We put some pictures up, and Keely put up some video. It seems like a lot of negative reaction to it's now the United Airlines Memorial Coliseum.
I can't wait to not call it that.
Yeah, everyone's not calling it that.
Here's the thing. This is why I don't understand why people are angry about it. You never called it the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. You just called it the Coliseum.
Yeah.
It's not. Nothing's going to change. You still call it the Coliseum, but now you're $69 million richer. Why does it matter?
I'm not.
Well, USC is.
Oh.
And I don't understand why that's such a big deal.
Well, if everyone was getting a piece of that $69 million, they wouldn't be mad. But since we're not,
We're not?
Might as well
I thought
be
we
mad
were.
at everything, right?
I mean, the general public, since it's going to renovations for the Coliseum, might. Although there are some kerfuffles with the Coliseum renovation plan.
Oh.
So.
Oh, what kind of kerfuffles we got?
Kerfuffles, meaning like.
That's a great word.
Thank you. I don't know why I said that, but.
There's fights over it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, look at the P. People aren't very happy, but.
But there's nobody fighting over it. There's just people upset. A kerfuffle means you got two people fighting, yeah.
Oh,
You got brawling and stuff going on.
No, there are no brawls as of yet.
If there was someone actually on the board that was fighting against what is going to happen, then maybe we could say there's a kerfuffle. Just
Maybe.
a lot of complaints.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, $69 million is $69 million. I think the general consensus, though, is, until you see it all together, it just doesn't seem like it's a great solution, putting a building in the middle of the stadium, not getting rid of the sun deck, not doing something with the peristyle end. And it just seems like this was forced through. So I know a lot of the fans are kind of upset about that. And if you're in that building, you're spending $10 million. It seems just like this. It's a great 1%er thing where if you're in that building, it's awesome, but you're taking out 75 or 7,700 awesome seats to put this building there. So, and next year, I think is going to be an absolute nightmare. You see the construction, everything going on. All those seats where the building's being built, you can't sit there. So everyone gets moved. There's 1,000 less parking spaces because they're building another museum. They got the soccer thing going on there. So, I think it's going to be a really bad experience for fans on game day next year, no matter what, even if the team is good. If the team is bad, it's going to make it all that much worse. So, I don't know.
Which makes you wonder, why did you not just wait? Take a pause, wait. Oh, wait, the Rams are in our stadium. We're giving them, probably a pretty good deal to have them play in the Coliseum. Hey, why don't we trade you guys when you get your new stadium? We'll play there while we're doing construction. Why doesn't that make any sense? It makes perfect sense, which is why they probably didn't do it. Well, this makes too much sense. We can't do that.
Well, Sarah Josh Myatt, I believe, says, is construction going to be going on during this season? I saw some projected seating charts for next season, and it looked like there's going to be some sections cordoned off.
I think part of the sections that are cordoned off are going to be your non-visible sections as well, where you're going to have obstructive views. The question becomes, so part of the reason why you have to build this big structure inside is because of the historical landmark that is the Coliseum. So you can't build anything on the outside. So that's what Notre Dame did with their stadium. They added more to the outside of the ring and stuff, and then built up from there. Where USC couldn't do that, so now they're putting this giant thing in the middle. Why they couldn't spread it out a little bit more? Similar to AT&T Stadium, where you have these suites that kind of wrap around the entire stadium.
Yeah.
Why did you not do that instead of going down on the 40 between the 40s is where this giant albatross is kind of landing and taking out all those prime seats? Like, yeah, we know you guys like to watch the game and all, but we're gonna be up here and enjoying the piñata fiesta that's going on in our suite and not really caring about the game. I know you guys want to watch, but you guys can move out to farther areas and watch the game still, right? You don't really care about seeing the action as best as possible, right? These prime seats aren't going to be available next year because you're going to put this giant thing in and they're going to be available in the future. You're taking out a bunch of prime seats for no good reason.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people, there's a lot of fans on our message boards, a lot of people on Twitter that have said, and when you say a lot, just you see multiple you've done this, so you believe there's probably more. I've had season tickets for 30 years. I just talked to a guy, 15 minutes before we started the broadcast. He goes, they wanted $10,000 more from me for a year. I'm not doing it. I got soccer on weekends anyway with my kids, so I'm just not doing that, and I'll go buy, on SeatGeek or StubHub or something and go buy tickets when I need to go. So if there's a lot of people doing that, that's going to hurt the bottom line as well.
Well, obviously, one of the draws of having season tickets is that, hey, you get to know the people around you. You get to make those relationships. Hey, we've been sitting with these people for 20 years. They become our friends because we see them, 8 times a year. We started tailgating. We started, doing things outside of USC football or whatever. You get to know those people around you, and that's one of the big draws. Now you're saying, well, we need you to move, and you're not going to be by the people you were with before.
Yeah.
What incentive does that person have to say, oh, yeah, I should pay more money and go somewhere else? It makes no sense. Yeah, just go to StubHub, you go to SeatGeek, you get over the exorbitant fees, And your ticket for a Western Michigan game is probably a quarter or a third of what it costs face value, maybe, just because people want to get rid of those tickets that do have season tickets that aren't really interested in sitting in 107 degrees or whatever it was in the Western Michigan game. And then you go and you get to have a good time that way, and you don't spend as much. And if you have something come up, you don't have to be at the game because you don't feel like you're losing out on money you've already spent.
Yeah. I would like to clarify, because Alejandro says, Keely, just give me your sideline pass because I lost my seats. That's why it's a big deal. I think it's dumb that you're losing your seats. I think the outrage over the United naming deal is dumb.
Right.
I just want to clarify.
Keely has no sympathy for you.
No, that's false. But Clay Helton tweeted that the press box is going to be done this season. That's not true, is it?
That was not the plan. They were trying to figure out what they could do. I don't see how the press box will be done. It's basically like at the top of that aircraft carrier building. That's not going to be done.
They're going to have something temporary, though.
Yes,
even if something's not done, because your coach, the assistant coaches, have to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
One of the people I work with in the office at the LA Times brought it up and was like, what happens? What are they going to do? Just put them on the roof, and then you're going to have fans yelling up, "Hey, T, that's a terrible play call. What are you doing?" And there's like people yelling at them in open air. Of course not. They're going to have something. Well, they're just going to put them in giant bubbles or something. I don't know. And just have wires running from the field up to the headsets just so they can get something worked out. But they got to do something there because just the logistics of the gameplay, you're going to have something.
Blitzer Dan says, do you think the renovation will affect recruits and visits?
Well, you're already seeing it's affecting it because they're not allowed to go. They always like to have this dinner at the Coliseum, and as the sun sets on the, they light the torch and everything. This beautiful setting. You notice all the pictures they've taken are outside of the stadium. You see the arches in the background, that stuff. Now maybe the recruits don't know, but it's obviously changing the way they've done it. In that regard, just because you're not going to go in the stadium where all this construction is going on. Hey, you put the uniform on and put a hard hat on too.
I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind if that's what the question is.
No,
it's going to hurt you. USC doesn't like to do in-season official visits anyway. Coming up this year too, official visits, you'll be able to do some in the spring because of the early signing period. But you wouldn't, like Shotgun said, you're probably not going to be able to do some of the things you could do before. But USC's not big on official visits during this season anyway, partially because, games aren't sold out and it's not the greatest. If you want to come to USC in January when it's cold somewhere else, butt-ass cold, and it's warm here. If you want to go to a game environment, you go to Auburn or something, it's insane. It's going to be better there than at USC. But if you're going to go visit Ohio State in January or USC in January, obviously it's much better at USC.
Rick says, any transfers or players who drop out due to grades or other issues that we can predict or know of?
I think there's been so much speculation on the boards that predicting this is just a zero-sum game here. That it's not. We've talked about guys that may, some guys that are behind in positions, but until we actually hear anything, we don't really know. Because we can speculate a bunch of guys and then be incorrect, and that's not really the way we do things. So.
Yeah, well, we should know. I think just from signing day alone, you should get a better idea, how many people are brought in. Now, it's maybe they miss on some guys and you can't tell. But if there's a significant number, then you're going to be able to speculate. Okay, well, USC needs to lose 5 dudes, so you can make some guesses at that point. But you at least get a feel if if they don't sign that many, and maybe you don't need that many, and they might have more attrition. But at least signing day will give you a kind of idea. All right, well. Something has to happen here.
As far as I've seen, at least half of the guys that people are speculating about are still in classes. So,
yeah,
there's no one has transferred out yet that we know of.
Jay Fierro says, how's it going with the recruitment with Solo, and are we still recruiting Marlon Robinson, the linebacker from Sarah?
Merlin. No, I think they kind of stopped recruiting him a while back. I like him. He's not the biggest player, and this is a really strong linebacker class, but Solo had by accounts, good official visit weekend at USC. He's there with, teammates that are going to come to USC. I think Gerard's pretty confident. I don't know, Shotgun, do you have a lot of confidence that he'll end up at USC? Or
the one thing that concerns you on Solo is the fact that Elijah Winston, the Oregon linebacker commit, kind of snuck in under the radar for a visit this past weekend. So is that USC saying, we're not really sure with Tuliapupu, maybe we should have this backup plan? Or is it, them just looking at another linebacker, which would make the class even bigger in that regard? So that has to give you a little bit of pause if you're looking at Solomon Tuliapupu.
Yeah. So he's, we count Solo as like Solomon Tuliapupu. He's a 4-star linebacker from Mater Dei High School. So he's one of the uncommitted guys at this point. Not a lot of uncommitted guys. It's going to be a different signing day this year because of so many guys that have already signed. Like 65% of like the 247 top 247 players in the country signed already. So but USC will have more drama than most because they only signed 10 guys, where like Georgia signed 22. Something like that. So. USC's always been kind of traditional closer on signing day, and that's shouldn't change this year.
Alex says, percentage possibility of Biggie moving to safety?
I don't have a percentage on it. I don't think he should move to safety. I think you could, and I think we discussed this previously, is that you could try him out in the spring, and if that's something he wants to do because he thinks that at the next level that's the position he plays, maybe he goes to coaches and says, hey, coach, let me try out, let me play some safety in the spring. We'll see how it goes and go from there. But I think you look at the end of the season when he came back from the injury, he was really good at cornerback.
Yeah.
He was really good as a sophomore at cornerback. Some people even were saying he was better than Adoree Jackson, playing that number 2 spot. He shut down guys like Dante Pettis at Washington. So the question becomes, it becomes a personal thing for him. Do you think this is the position you're playing at the next level? And if not, do you go to the coaches and ask them, hey, let me try out safety, and then we'll go from there? I don't think anything's going to be solidified until the summer. I think even if he is to try that position out in the spring, I don't think it's guaranteed he'll stay there.
We have a lot of questions about Trevor Trout. Any updates on him?
No, I think he ends up signing. I don't think there's going to be anything kind of crazy with that. He's a 4-star defensive tackle from St. Louis, Missouri. He's if you watch him on Twitter, he's always involved. I think he's very excited to come to Los Angeles. So I don't see anything kind of changing with that. I don't know if you have any different opinion, Shotgun, but he seems to be all USC right now. Just
scanning his account and his profile picture is with an SC shirt on. The first thing in his bio is the University of Southern California.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going anywhere.
Unless USC dropped them, but we haven't heard anything like that. So
Armando,
full speed with Trevor Trout.
Sorry. Armando wants to know, is there any update about KU?
KU. So Kansas University is a very good basketball. Wait.
Oh, wait, you're talking basketball now, Ryan?
Damn it.
No.
I did so there's some rumors that Kenichi Udeze, the defensive line coach, was, he interviewed for a job with the 49ers. I talked to a 49ers source yesterday. I don't think, I would say it's leaning towards not happening at this point. Doesn't mean he's not going to go somewhere else, but I think there's going to be some movement on the coaching staff after signing day. I think there's enough rumblings about different guys, and at least one I think is going to end up somewhere else. I don't think USC will hire a running backs coach until after signing day. So I think after signing day you're going to see some slight movement, but I don't think it's going to be some mass sort of exodus or changeover or anything like that.
We're also getting questions about the spring game. Where will it be held, and will there actually be live hitting?
We have no clue about the live hitting. I think that that is not.
We have
determined.
a clue. It's not going to happen.
Well, that's
they
not
never do it.
determined.
They're not going to do it.
That's not usually determined until at least midway through when you look at see how many injuries you have. And that's been one of the issues USC has had recently is because they've had a lot of injuries, so they haven't done it. Maybe if they're all healthy, maybe they actually do some hitting, which would be nice. Fans would like to see that. Where it happens...
Where would they see that?
They're not going to do that. Yeah, where are they going to... Yeah. I don't know if the soccer thing is open yet.
LAFC, they're supposed to open their stadium, I believe, in March.
It's may have been May. I don't know. I don't know diddly about soccer or what their season is.
But we talked about this 2 Facebook Lives ago. How, are they going to really be enthusiastic to let this football team trash their brand new
Field?
Field?
Well, the thing is, like, you can
It's a real
force
sport.
USC
It's not soccer. Like, come on.
Wow.
You can force
Oh,
USC
sorry, soccer fans. I'm just not
to pay for new turf or something as part of the agreement. So that's a possibility. Or, the other possibilities are StubHub, where you have another soccer team play, and also now the Chargers. So you could have that. I think those are your two main options. We'll see what they actually do. I mean, they could actually just do it at Howard Jones if they really wanted to.
What about like McAllister? Like, is that or the?
I don't think the soccer field is an ideal spot because it's actually a short field even for soccer.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, NCAA does not. It's really interesting. NCAA doesn't have a set soccer field length dimensions. Like that is not set. So there's differences in dimensions.
Kind of like a hockey rink or something. Like it's not set.
Yeah.
Or a baseball field?
No, like a baseball field where you can have different dimensions. It's like not really set. So I think it's actually a smaller field in that regard. I mean, you could eventually even go to the Rose Bowl if you wanted to sell out money.
Yeah.
But the Rose Bowl, doesn't like people on their field.
We haven't heard, which is a little bit strange. We don't have the spring schedule yet, which isn't strange. Usually they kind of wait until, so, we might not know until
It's
late
something
February.
we will ask next week, though.
Yes, we have not
help.
been able to speak to anybody officially since.
Early signing period.
Yeah, well,
Even then.
no, after the Cotton Bowl, like so.
Oh, that's right.
Like, yeah, so there wasn't the normal, like, post-season press conference and all that kind of stuff. So signing day, there's going to be a lot of, like, team questions, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, hey, what happened? What was going on here? Blah, blah, blah.
Shout out to Jared Still, who says, this is so much better than this work call I'm supposed to take right now. So
Yeah, way to go, Jared.
We agree. We agree.
John says, if USC had a game tomorrow, who starts at QB?
Matt Fink, if it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt.
But it's not, so.
He's got a lot of experience. If you're starting tomorrow, that's an easy one.
Let's see.
Keely,
DeMarcus says, how many of the new incoming players play right away?
how many?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he's at least in the rotation.
Okay.
I think Nayatiote, I think he's
Yeah.
in the rotation.
Yeah, look at by position. Like, you don't necessarily need a receiver too, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, like, he's that good. I think you got a shot. I think you're going to need a linebacker.
I think you have to look at Caleb Tremblay with Rasheem Green leaving, the junior college defensive lineman. I think he gets in there, at least in the rotation, if he is able to pick up things quickly. I would say you, depending on which cornerbacks come in, I think one of them could be in the rotation.
Yeah, that's a position too where you're going to, like, need something. I think with St. Brown too, he might be a punt returner. So he could get on the field, even if he doesn't crack so you might see him that way.
And then maybe Marquise Stepp as a short yardage guy. I think he can be the big, the bulldozer type to, with the guys that are on the roster right now. And then who knows about JT Daniels?
Yeah, there's certainly potential.
I think those are the guys that you're looking at mainly. Maybe an edge rusher. You have an opening. Maybe one of those guys becomes, is just so good coming off the edge, whether it's Nayatiote, if they use him in like third down situations that way, or even Kanaya Mwaga, if they use him. If one of those guys really shows out as a guy that can get to the passer, then maybe they become a third down pass rush specialist. I could see something like that happening.
Armando says, why, because we mentioned there's been injuries in spring. He said, why are there have been so many injuries at that point of spring practice? Why is that occurring?
Well, a lot of guys have off-season surgery and stuff. I mean, there are several guys that are healing up now from, as soon as the season ends. That's something I remember last year, I think it was Trayvon Sidney. It was like the day after the Rose Bowl, he was scheduled to have his surgery for his hip or whatever. So they wait till the very end, and then, as soon as the season's over, they go in and get, minor things picked up, arthroscopic surgeries on knees and shoulders, those type of things. Guys like Chris Hawkins, he was playing through an ankle injury through the Holiday Bowl, so he didn't play during the spring pretty much at all until the very end. And they're not going to risk a guy that's a potential starter when this, for the spring game itself. So it's a developmental time, so the young guys are supposed to get more reps anyways. And guys that are taking over positions, you want those guys, your established starters. If there's anything small, you're not going to, bother with getting them in there and potentially having a more serious risk injury, or injury risk, excuse me. And you have almost every season, you have one or two guys go down in the spring. Whether it's Kenny Bigelow, tearing up his knee or something like that. You've had last year Taylor Katoa, tore up his knee, the freshman linebacker. So you hope that you don't have those season-ending injuries and it's just minor stuff, but it just inevitably, when you're playing a game as physical as football, if you do it the right way, eventually there's going to be injuries.
Yes. Art wants our prediction. Does Devin Williams go to Oregon or come to USC?
I mean, Gerard, I think, is still pretty confident he ends up at USC. I was a little bit more mixed, but I kind of think he will. What do you think, Gerard? I mean, T. Martin closes on dudes. I think he will.
But Oregon does get the last visit this weekend.
Sure.
So.
But if you want to send a coach and you trust somebody, I trust T. Martin to
close it out.
It out. Daniel says, "Are we going to see Jack Jones try offense this year?"
I don't think so. There's just too many skilled dudes. I don't know where you're going to fit him in. With Adoree, you really, really had to do it. I just don't think
use him as much as you would want.
Yeah, they didn't use Adoree much. I just don't see that. And then, the cornerbacks have had their share of problems too. So you just kind of let him focus on defense. That's what I would think. But
maybe if he played how he did the first 6 games of the season, the entire season, then maybe you're like, oh, he's got cornerback down. Maybe we'll try him out on offense or something. But I think just with him struggling at the end of the season, I think you make sure that he's focused on that and takes care of business there.
Yeah, I just don't see that. Tom wants to know, what's the lean on Isaac Taylor Stewart?
The lean. I mean, he's definitely still enamored with the SEC. He's a really strange guy. He's different than a lot of people. I got to talk to him quite a bit in Hawaii when I was covering the Polynesian Bowl. Nice kid. I just don't have a really good feel. If he ends up at some SEC school, I wouldn't be surprised. If he end up at USC, I don't think I'd be surprised. But I don't know. I'm not sure what he's going to do.
I don't think any fan base really feels confident that they're getting him. I think even wherever he ends up, people are like, I don't know if he's coming here. I think he might be going somewhere. So I think that's going to be one of the fun things on signing days, because those are the ones that are the most fun. Is, oh, wait, where is he actually going to pick? Instead of knowing every one of them beforehand.
And it could be really important for USC, losing Julius Ervin, on Wednesday to Washington, which seems like a self-inflicted wound on USC's part, because he was, apparently committed or very close to committing on a number of occasions. And so I think it's important to close with a couple of the good corners. And if USC strikes out on all of them, I mean, it could be a real problem. So that's not one you're counting on. That's one that just, I don't think a lot of people or anybody really knows what he's going to do. He's just a different kid.
And there's questions about his work ethic and stuff too. He's got all the all the measurables. The guy that has performed the most out of that group is Elijah Griffin. Yeah. And that's another guy that USC slow played and wanted to commit to USC early, it seemed like, and instead he was kind of pushed away a little bit and said, take your time with the things. He's like, well, I'm gonna take my time over to UCLA. But then when they changed coaching staffs, he comes open up again. Can USC actually seal the deal? That's going to be the question. It seemed like they could have had Elijah Griffin already. They could have had Julius Ervin already. ITS has been the guy that's been number one on their board, their entire board last spring. He was the number one guy. That's what they told him, at least. So we'll see if they can close and say, hey, we want, can you get the guy that's your number one guy on your board? That's an important thing to do. Your top targets are the ones you need to pull in the most.
Yeah, he's a big dude too. When I talk to the guy, and I'm 6'3", and he's as tall as I am, or maybe a little bit shorter, but yeah, for a cornerback, he's a big dude.
All the measurables: 6'2", 4'2", 4'3", 40. The question is, does he want to play football enough? And as a coach, you say, I don't care. I get him in. I'll make him work, whatever. And you're just like, this guy's a perfect prime example of the cornerback I want. Then you get him in.
Joe says, will someone wear the legendary 55 this year?
There's some interesting. So we saw Solomon Tuilapupu on his visit. They gave him a number 55 jersey. A lot of people thought Palier Neoteote was going to wear that, and was there something weird going on there? Do both both really high-ranked incoming recruits, play if Solomon ends up, signing with USC, who would end up getting it? I kind of think someone's going to get it. Probably, EA, I would guess. But
To start this season?
I kind of think so, yeah. I don't know. But
they've told him multiple times that, hey, you're going to have to earn it. We're going to have to basically go into the group of 55s, the previous guys that have worn it, and ask them, basically. So I think those guys would want to see some actual action on the field before they give up that number. So maybe why not just give it to Cam Smith for this year and then give it to whoever performs most?
I don't think Cam really, people have said, oh, he wanted, 35 has been a really good linebacker number at USC too. I thought Cam was didn't really want that number, but I'd heard other people say, oh, he really wanted it. They told him no. And I didn't think that was the case.
I remember his sophomore year, there was talk that he was going to get it, and then it kind of fell through. And then at Pac-12 Championship Media Days, or Pac-12 Media Days this year, he was like, no, I'm comfortable with 35.
Yeah.
I don't want to move it. So
it's a tradition. There's a lot of good, Jeff Kopp. There's a bunch of USC linebackers. It started to become like a punter number for a while, and then they've got, hopefully it'll be back to a linebacker
Trust me,
number.
if they offered him 55, he would take it.
Cam?
Yeah. Well, yes, I will. No, I don't want this traditional great number at USC. They offer
35 is a good one too.
I don't know.
I get
I'm
it.
just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you did ask Kelton the first signing day about 55, and he said that Gaoteote would have to earn it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Can you earn it enough? The fall schedule's a week longer, so maybe that's a week more they can earn.
Tester Troy says, Keely, we're going to need a JT Daniels interview ASAP. Okay, Tester.
Yeah.
Jared?
I had a good one if you check it out when he was in San Antonio. Even Keely thought it was good. Yeah, the problem is he stood kind of behind me. He was one of those guys that kind of sometimes, Keely knows if you're
Sometimes you
trying
have
to
to hold them.
yeah, you have to so you're interviewing someone and they start to back away and you're like, whoa,
It's like
come
a
back.
nervous tick. They move around.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're halfway out of the frame.
Well, the problem is I'm 6'3" and he was a foot and a half behind me. So everyone's like, that dude's really small. No, he was just behind me a little bit. So it made him look a lot smaller because he was.
My favorite is Ronald Jones. I think one interview I tried to just stand still and see how far he backed up. He backed up 4 yards in it, which is a long way in an interview because the rest of the crowd, the rest of the reporters just keep moving forward, inching forward because you're just with the recorder out. But if you have a camera, I was like, I'm just gonna, because he's so notorious in my mind for that I was like, I'm gonna see how far he actually backs up in this interview.
Whether it was conscious or not, he would just kind of back up and escape almost.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. Jared says, are you guys willing to speculate on why there's one coach with an extension and it's not the head coach?
The problem with anything contract related with USC is you don't actually know for sure because it's a private school. They're not going to let it come out.
Yeah.
You know where the information comes out about who gets an extension, who doesn't? The agents. So the agents tell a media person, hey, my guy got this, which makes the agent look better, obviously. So everyone, there could be somebody who did get an extension that we don't know about if they wanted to keep it quiet or something. Now, we've heard differently, so that's what we have to go off of. But with USC being a private school, we can't know for sure because you can't do a FOIA and ask for the information like you can in a public school.
Yeah. Chris says, where does Taylor Katoa see time?
He's an inside linebacker. So I think the question becomes what other of the linebackers coming in are going to play inside? Can he beat one of those guys out? Can one of those guys beat out John Houston or Cam Smith? I think that you're going to see Cam Smith and John Houston there the majority of the time this year, even with Gaoteote coming in, even with Raymond Scott, even with Katoa being healthy.
Jared's taking shots at me saying I'm always bragging about my height. Well,
Yeah.
look, okay, I'm not bragging. That's just where I was born. I'm not happy. I'm as fat as I've ever been right now, so I won't give you my weight. But a lot of people ask how big dudes are, and I'm not good at that guy's 6'2", 240. But if I stand next to the guy, at least I know. I just use that as a measuring stick. And then people bring it up a lot. If I'm interviewing somebody, if Keely was interviewing,
People ask me a lot my height, so they know what people to compare. So
so for Zach Banner, it doesn't look, But if Keely's interviewing a 5'10" guy and she's got heels on,
Dory, I was right there.
Yeah.
And he's supposedly 6 feet tall.
Right. So we just people ask about sizes all the time, and we have to use what we are to, or at least I do, to compare. So.
No, we know you're bragging about your height, Ryan.
Dude.
Wait, what height makes you feel like short when you're like looking up?
Yeah, is there anyone?
I think once you
Harry
get
Angeline, maybe, when he was
No,
alive?
he was like 6'7" or 6. I mean, it would have to be like I don't really
6'9" or 6'10" is where I start to like question. Like, oh, this guy is actually big.
Yeah, like when you do some of the basketball stuff, but
No, it's
I
probably
don't
even after bigger than that because I didn't like Zach. I didn't ever have a like Zach's a
Zach,
huge
I was
dude,
like,
but I never felt like I was looking up. But then like you interview Omar Arabi with the basketball team. He's 7'1". You're like, oh my goodness, hello.
Brandon says, who redshirted this past season that you guys think will contribute this upcoming season that may have been overlooked?
interesting. Let's see.
Levi Jones didn't redshirt,
No,
but I think he's a guy that would be interesting. Also, Bubba Bolden. Those two on special teams were really good.
Yeah, he asked for guys that redshirted.
I'm sorry.
This is complete.
But, like, in a way they were redshirted. They didn't play on, like, something other than special teams regularly.
I was trying to pull up the scholarship chart. I couldn't find it.
I got it.
I would go
It's in the
Isaiah
more
Paul
thing.
is a guy that comes off the top of my head. And then maybe you get an offensive guy. Let's see.
You're forgetting the obvious one. Marlon Tui Pelotu.
I did this last time
Okay,
too.
but, like, is
because
that-
he played some and then I forgot about him.
Yeah, that doesn't count. I guess.
He redshirted.
I
like,
know,
that
but,
counts.
like, in my head that doesn't
You're
count.
naming guys that didn't redshirt. Like, you're saying the guy that redshirted doesn't
That's true.
count?
Okay, fine.
Isaiah Paul and then also Greg Johnson, another guy who played
Yeah.
a little bit and then took a red shirt for an injury. I think he was coming along and potentially going to get some time at that cornerback spot or be that that backup cornerback, and the injury kind of curtailed that. So I think mostly on the defensive end.
Yeah. I mean, you could do a Hunter Eccles. It could be like a Jay Tufele, like some of those
Tefele
guys.
is another guy that I think can take a big jump first year, the second year, and especially with Rasheem Green being gone, I think there's going to be reps there.
And who knows? Maybe Jack Sears.
Maybe. Shotgun. No. Armando wants to know how tall you are.
I'm 6'2",
So they're similar.
6'2" and a half.
We are. I might be. We'll have to go back to back because
You're taller.
because I'm older now. Okay, but I think I'm shrinking, so I might be like,
Just going downhill for you.
yeah, dude, I'm 47. Like, what the heck,
That's crazy. I always forget.
God, you're old.
No kidding.
Um.
I guess I'm still Gen X, which I don't get. Like, we were listening on the radio, it's like Gen X stuff. I think when Gen X first came out, I wasn't Gen X, but now they made it like bigger or something. So
They more inclusive.
if you're born in the 70s, you're like Gen X or something. So.
I don't even know what gen I'm supposed to be.
You guys are millennials, right, or no?
I'm a millennial. I don't think you are.
I don't know, and I don't
He
really
doesn't care. We've talked about this a lot. Okay, Jimmy says, how do you think our O-line will look? Will Toa stay at left tackle while Cole Smith is our new center, or will Toa move back to center and Jordan Austin will become our new left tackle?
Not going to happen,
No.
either one of those. Toa
Jimmy.
moves to center, and then you have a competition between Austin Jackson and Clayton Johnston at left tackle.
I would say, yeah.
Spencer wants to know what's going on with Penei Sewell.
Jordan Austin,
Oh, sorry.
Jordan Austin will have a chance to battle with Andrew Voorhees probably for right guard spot. If you see him backing up left guard behind Chris Brown, that's probably not a good sign for his case, because that says that, hey, we think Voorhees is better, we think Roy Hemsley or whoever else is battling for that spot. Because I think it's going to be open competition with Voorhees. I don't think he automatically gets that spot just because he played there last year. I think any of those other guys can potentially step up and play in that guard spot as well.
Austin played well in the Pac-12 championship game where, when Voorhees got hurt right in the beginning or something, and then Jackson.
Voorhees had a concussion, yeah.
He had the concussion, yeah. So Jackson came in, and I thought he did really well.
Jordan Austin came.
Jordan Austin came in.
Spencer wants to know what's going on with Penei Sewell.
I think we touched on that.
Yeah, we kind of did. Sorry.
Replay will be up later on YouTube. And
Daniel wants to know who's going to be backing up Stephen Carr at running back. I'm assuming Carr will be the starter, he says.
Carr will probably be the starter.
Yeah.
I think you'll see similar to last year. Well, I think, again, it goes back to which running back coach comes in and how does he like to use his guys. Dylan McCullough liked to have special packages to keep everyone basically invested. He said that, I like to have I have to have certain things that tailor each guy's. So that's why you saw the two back sets with Vi and said Ware there together. I think that was to keep both of those guys invested. And you saw that they rotated, and said Ware got some carries in the Cotton Bowl and looked pretty good on the couple carries that he got. Whereas other guys weren't getting any holes. He got a couple of first down runs, I think. So I think depending on the running back coach, you could see all three of those guys get plenty of time. Depending on Marquise Stepp, if he can come in and be healthy, maybe he can take over a short yardage role as well.
We got multiple questions about Frank Martin when we were talking about the O-line. How come we haven't heard anything about him?
He hasn't played well enough?
Yeah, I would say that. I think there's a couple guys. If you look at the scholarship chart, 17 offensive linemen, and I don't know. That seems like a lot. We'll see if that changes at all. But there's just been some guys that have been in the program that just haven't been able to kind of break into that, even close to the rotation. So,
and I think Frank Martin's a redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore, yeah.
So he still has opportunities to.
Yeah.
If somebody goes down, you get in, you get an opportunity, you go in, you play well. The Nico Falla effect. I mean, Nico Falla wasn't, was backing up multiple positions, wasn't getting any opportunities, and then you have three centers get hurt. All of a sudden, he gets an opportunity, goes in there and plays well, and never really left the starting lineup after that.
Someone wants to know, will we hear coaching movement after signing day?
Yes.
As long as you listen, you will hear. We will talk about it.
You'll at least have a running backs coach. If nothing else, you'll at least gain a running backs coach because Clay Helton actually had told a couple of running back recruits, just give me a couple weeks, and then, which tells me that they're going to focus on recruiting now, and then they'll focus on that after signing day is over because they're not really going after a bunch of running back targets right now. So an interesting thing that I learned last night. So Elijah Weaver is 6'4" point guard recruit USC's bringing in. His teammate.
Are we talking basketball?
His teammate actually is Jayshon Corbin, the running back recruit target that USC was going after before Dylan McCullough left. So, if USC was really looking for that second running back, that's a guy you could go after and say, hey, come with your friend, because they play basketball together. I saw Corbin's name in a box score, and that's why I was like, whoa, wait a second.
I just saw I had a marker that I left the cap off of.
Yeah, you were very urgent about that.
I was like, I can't do that.
Corey says, are we not going to mention Jamel Cook? I read it very sassily, so that's why I said it. He wants to know about Jamel Cook. What's happening with him?
Are we not?
We have no updates on Jamel Cook.
We can mention him now that you talked about it, but we weren't just going to
Jamel Cook. There we go, Corey.
He's on campus.
He's still, as far as we know, he's still
enrolled as far as I know.
Yeah.
I've seen him and Pai Young on campus, so.
Tester Troy really wants to tell his idea for next season. He really wants game-by-game predictions for the upcoming season in next week's show. What? Tester Troy, I don't understand what you're saying.
Game by game?
Redo it.
They win every game. Does that make it easy? Done.
Rick says, could Sears or Fink transfer if they aren't named the starter?
Yes, they could. So then you have the Gerard Martinez theory that they will not name JT Daniels starter regardless because they don't want one of those guys to transfer.
Right. So he was kind of along the line. Basically, okay, if you want to know what this team or the staff is going to do, just look to see what they did before. Because they seem to kind of do the same stuff. Like, did they hit in spring before? No. Are they going to change it up and hit in spring? No. If everyone's like, you should put full pads on during November, did they do that before? No. Are they going to do that? No. So they seem to kind of follow the same pattern where they're going to do what they do, and that's it. And even if there's all this clamoring from fans, you got to change this, do this differently. It just seems like this is the philosophy. That's where they go. The last time the philosophy was you start the veteran guy over the young stud. And so I think it would take a lot for JT to be able to come in a few weeks in fall camp and be able to win the job. So I kind of buy into Gerard's theory that they'll start Matt Fink.
Different situations, though.
It is different.
Redshirt junior versus a redshirt sophomore with Matt Fink. Max Brown, a guy that was 5-star number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, versus Matt Fink, who's a 3-star guy that no one knew anything about. Actually, when he signed with USC, a lot of people in the P were upset that they signed Matt Fink. I think he's shown he can do some different things. I think it depends on what offense they want to run. If it's turned over completely to T. Martin and say run whatever you want, go full spread if you want, or run read option if you want, then I think that would determine the quarterback as well. I think you're going to have some system concerns with a different quarterback because Sam Darnold could do a little bit of everything.
Someone asked earlier for Ryan, what's your outlook for special teams now that Baxter is full-time there?
The outlook. This is like a setup, right?
He's not tight ends coach, or Kerry Colbert is now the tight ends coach. So.
Right. So Kerry Colbert gets promoted. He's the 10th assistant. He's going to coach inside receivers, which would take a little bit away from T. Martin's burden, so he can focus. The thought there being he can focus more on being the offensive coordinator, and then taking the tight ends away from John Baxter, thinking he could focus more on special teams. I couldn't see him focusing any more on special teams than he already does. They practice it so much. They have 5 guys on scholarships on special teams. So, no, I think that they've been abysmal on special teams. Shotgun always points out, because he's a mean person, when they only throw 10 guys on the field, that's Shotgun's fault for bringing that stuff out.
Not their fault for having 8 guys on an extra point against Stanford 2 years ago.
So, I don't think – I just don't think that's going to change. Unless there was a coaching change, which I don't believe there's going to be, then I don't think it's going to, make this miracle that makes USC better on special teams. So I think it'll take Clay Helton to, kind of put his foot down and say, hey, we're changing this, we're changing that. I don't see that happening.
Do you think, a Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe being the returner changes things around?
That could help, because when you see USC perform well on special teams, I don't normally see it, and get your guys' thoughts on this, I see it more of an individual making a play as opposed to a schematic advantage, to quote our former Notre Dame head coach. What's his name?
Charlie Weiss?
What?
Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss, yeah. Schematic advantage he had against USC. I don't see that schematic advantage. If you looked at the Cotton Bowl, the first 4 of the first 5 kickoffs, USC got tackled at the 15. There was just dudes everywhere, and they kept doing the same thing, and it wasn't working. Dory Jackson would make some great individual plays. I think Amon-Ra has some of that. He's not quite the kind of guy that Adoree would be, so he might make some plays on his own. But
yeah, Adoree Jackson, a couple of those returns that he took back to the house, how many times he touched? 0, because they blocked better. That was the biggest issue last year, more than the returner. I think Jenny Harris, maybe he can still be a good returner if you give him an opportunity. But there were so many times when there's people on top of him, and that, what you point out in the Cotton Bowl, illustrates it so much. Both return teams, there were so often, they were just guys running free and were able to make tackles at the 10, 15-yard line. You're getting hit at the 15-yard line? I mean, how many times is a returner going to do anything if he's getting touched inside the 20? You got to open up some holes and give guys an opportunity, and they did not do that last year. Occasionally, Velus Jones, if he could make one guy miss, but he got tackled by the kicker 3 times. So I think there were opportunities there. If he could get by the kicker, then there could have been long returns there as well. And maybe you don't talk about how bad the special teams were, as you have something to balance out the bad special teams as well.
Keely, do we need more likes? Everyone hit that like button, man. Come on, what's going on?
Oh.
Do we have a lot of likes or no?
Really random. We have 45 likes or reactions. The boss man says
we need more. We have 150 comments and only 45 reactions. More reactions.
Wow. Demanding. Matthew says, do you 3 think Bradford will be back as our DB coach in 2018?
Ronnie Bradford. We're getting likes. I'm seeing them come across the board. I like that. See? That was cool.
Oh, well, we're getting mad faces now.
We're mad. That's okay. It's a reaction. Sure. I like that. Be mad at us.
Belly.
Yeah. Just react. Yes, I think he will be back. That's all. I'm going to say that.
I'll tell you one thing. He's not going to be the recruiting coordinator.
Boom. The problem is, and just, we're not trying to single out anyone individually here overly, but there's too high of a percentage of assistant coaches who are not dynamic recruiters, and to the point where they're almost a detriment. And you're having a few guys kind of carrying the load, and we're seeing Gavin Morris flying all over the country. They promoted him so he can be not promoted him, but he's upgraded to be on the travel team, the travel group as far as recruiting goes. And if a support staff guy is way better recruiter than a bunch of your full-time assistants, I mean, that's that could be a bit of a problem. So there's just some guys that are more like NFL mentality that are not huge fans of recruiting, and this is the business. This is about recruiting. Like USC has a lot of inherited advantages. They shouldn't be losing Irvin to Washington like they did. So I think there's some potential problems there, but I don't see Clay Helton making big changes like that.
Daryl says, why can't SC get some big O-linemen from SEC country?
I mean, they've tried. They had two. They had EJ Price and Chuma Doga, both from Georgia. That's SEC country. And you saw one of them has left, and one of them has had an up and down career. So
they got 17. I mean, you look at all the offensive linemen. Like, there's not like there's a bunch of 3-star dudes. Like, it's 4- and 5-star dudes. They got Austin Jackson last year. He was in out of state, not SEC country, but 5-star guy. They
went up to the Bay Area and got Elijah Vera Tucker. So it's not just Southern California that they're pulling guys from.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, the stereotype is that West Coast linemen have to bulk up and grow more than, they're not ready to play immediately, whereas East Coast guys, especially the guys from the Deep South, are bigger, more husky guys that are ready to, are physically ready to begin as their college careers.
Let's see. Daniel says, is Christian Rector going to start this season? He was killing it toward the end of the season.
It'll be interesting to see how they use him. Because when Porter Gustin went down, they used him as the defensive end, the / predator on that outside. And, he had his hand on the ground most of the time, but not all the time. And then after the Notre Dame game, he got hurt as well, but also he struggled holding that edge early in the game. So they went to Jordan Iosefa and used him as the outside linebacker. So it would be interesting, how they kind of do that schematically, where they put him. Do they want him as a defensive end? Because even late in the year, they used Rasheem Green on the end rather than having a second outside linebacker. They used a end on the edge and went from there with a true defensive end. So you saw Clancy Pendergast kind of mold and shape his defense around his personnel a little bit last year. We'll see what he does going into this year and how he kind of uses Christian Rector, because Christian Rector is a guy that could also bump inside, especially in passing downs. You can use him as an interior lineman too.
There were a couple questions that were basically asking, should there be concern that the coaches don't really change anything and thus it'll be the same pattern and then there won't be any different results in that sense?
I mean, I think so. Clay Helton came in and he has his philosophy, and he's shown over and over again he's going to stick to that, right? Now, you were talking about results. I mean, they did win the Rose Bowl and they won the Pac-12 championship last year. So I think in his mind, you're like, that's what you want to do and kind of build on that. I think a lot of the fan base sees but you get killed by Notre Dame, you get killed by Ohio State. They want to see some changes so you can get to the next level. I think Clay Helton is, he feels like the philosophies that he has with him and his staff are going to work and going forward. So I just don't see them making a lot of big changes. Now the proof will be this year. There's no more Sam Darnold. So the naysayers say whatever Clay Helton was doing, Sam Darnold saved his buns, right? And then and if it's not that, if it's like, hey, he can make Matt Fink work or a true freshman work, then you'll see the result on the field. But I think this is a really important year either way. But I don't see Clay Helton making some kind of big wholesale changes because he has had success on the field, winning the Rose Bowl and winning the Pac-12. So I think there's just a disconnect between a lot of the fans that were kind of naysayers to begin with. He shouldn't have been hired, in the first place, to what the results in the field are, not being good enough, or hey, that's pretty good, he's way better than what Sark or Lane Kiffin did.
Daniel says, I pressed the button. Thank you, Daniel. We now have 89 reactions, so...
I double that.
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
Good job. Not you.
Well...
You organized the force.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw it and I was like, on my screen it's only showing 24. I don't think it's updated, but I see all the comments. It's 172 comments and stuff. So we do appreciate all you taking time out of your day to watch and listen to us, and especially with the screw up we had on the first run.
Yeah, the patience is appreciated. Mike says, how much of a step back do we take with Darnold's departure to the NFL?
I think you definitely take a step back at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Can you scheme around that will be the question.
Yeah.
I think that's why you learn about this coaching staff a lot this year. Because
Yes.
I think you have to, Darnold was able to, and granted, Darnold got you in trouble a lot as well, but his creativity also created a lot of positives for you at the same time. So now, without that creativity, I think you have to scheme more for success rather than, one player making more plays.
I think it's going to be huge. I do. We'll see if I'm wrong. We'll see.
And
but
also Ronald Jones being going on. I think,
Yeah.
We've talked about how he's underrated. I think it's just, I think people aren't going to realize how big of an impact and how valuable the breakaway speed is. When you break and you get a 20-yard run, that's great. But when you turn that 20-yard run into an 80-yard run, that's a touchdown. That changes the dynamic because that's 6 points immediately, and you can't really screw it up. You know how USC's offense can often, there's a holding penalty followed by a false start, and now you went from a positive drive, you're at the 40-yard line or something, and now it's a 1st and 25, you're out of field goal range. I think that when you can take a run 60 yards versus 20, it changes the dynamic of your offense a lot. We'll see if Stephen Carr can do that. I think he can, but I don't think he has the top-end speed as Ronald Jones. If a guy gets caught from behind at the 20, and rather than scoring, USC's red zone offense wasn't great last year.
Yeah.
No, it was historically bad, I believe, more than not great. It could be a tough year, and we'll see. I think if it's not, you got to give Clay Helton a lot of credit because it just seems like there's a lot of guys back in certain positions, but losing your top 3 guys on offense and Sam Darnold, who a lot of people feel going to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft. If he's able to bounce back and win some big games next year and win a bunch of games, it's like, then I think you got to finally give him credit. For the people that aren't giving him credit now for winning the Rose Bowl and winning the Pac-12, if he wins it, the Pac-12 again next year, you got to give him credit because it's going to be a lot different without Sam Darnold.
And it's going to be a tough schedule to begin the season. You
Yes.
go on the road to Stanford, on the road to Texas, Friday night game against Washington State, and then play on the road at Arizona with Khalil Tate there. And 5 games in, your new coaching staff should be kind of gelling and figuring out what they can do with an offense in that regard. So I think that could be a tough game as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Daniel says, do you think John Houston needs to get bigger?
We just said Houston, and it's already like the 4th biggest city in the country. I don't think it needs to get any bigger. But John Houston, he played pretty well. You watching? I think Shotgun's been high on him.
Hurricane stuff and everything in Houston. The city wasn't built to be that big, actually.
Oh, wow. Shotgun going nice.
Just saying. John Houston really improved this last season.
He did.
Yes.
But he's not gotten a whole lot bigger. I just don't see him. I mean, we ran into Mike Morgan at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. We were looking for him to get bigger throughout his college career in the NFL. He never got that much bigger.
John Houston did the things he needed to do after the first 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
He learned what his role was in that defense, and he started playing really well, and especially towards the last couple games of the season. He was really good. The Pac-12 championship in particular.
Michael wants to know, if the new walk-on kicker wins the starting job and is successful in the season, will USC pull a scholarship from one of the 2 kickers?
Okay, they can't give another scholarship to another walk-on kicker, but we don't know. I mean, there's 5 guys on scholarship right now. What do you guys think? I'm guessing the most going into the season would be 4. I think something gives, but what do you guys think?
Meaning you pull one of them?
Someone leaves, someone medically
Yeah,
retires.
someone,
Someone has to... I feel like Michael Brown?
He could transfer, but Tilby's a senior. He could, he might have graduated already.
But then
I don't think you go into the season with 5 scholarships. And I don't think a walk-on's going to win. And even if he does, they can't give him a scholarship at this point. So I don't think any of that's happening.
Hey, but people want to give a scholarship this year. I mean, Chase McGrath made some big kicks early. Everybody's like, he's got to have a scholarship. He's got to have a scholarship. And then when he got one, people were like, wait a second, why are we giving us another scholarship specialty?
And for people who don't know, so they gave one to Reed Butterovich and one to Chase McGrath. Now the problem is, the good thing is Reed Butterovich has been in the program for a few years. He's been in more than 2. He doesn't count as an initial counter. You can bring in 25 every year. He doesn't count as that. Chase McGrath does because he was a freshman. So it was like he was recruited now, so he gets a scholarship and he counts towards your 25. Now this year it doesn't matter as much because the 85 limit is what's more important. They don't have that much room because they only had like 13 seniors or whatever. But he still counted, as one of those initial counters. So giving him a scholarship cost you in 2 different categories of scholarships. But I can't see them, first of all, walk on beating one of them out and then getting a scholarship at this point. I would think they're going to back off more than anything, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Also, you wonder about Michael Brown. How important is football to him? Does he want to play? Does he seek out an opportunity where there's potential playing time because he lost the job, or does he think he can come back and win the job? Those are the things you have to consider in that situation for him.
Curious if Chase McGrath builds up his leg strength, because Michael Brown's whole thing was that he could actually kick far into the end zone, whereas Chase McGrath couldn't really do it this season. So I'm curious if that plays a part in the role. I think that's why Michael Brown originally got the job over Chase McGrath.
Kickoff job.
Yeah, kickoff job.
And he might,
But they also did PATs and all that.
Yeah.
No, Chase McGrath won the job at a training camp, the kicking job.
Oh,
Yes.
Did he?
Yes, and Michael Brown was a kickoff guy. So you
But
had
then
a
Brown
scholarship
got hurt.
kickoff guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
then Brown
got
the second
hurt.
game at Stanford or against Stanford.
But, if not, then he could go back. When he's healthy
Come
again,
on,
he
son.
could go back.
Fall
Damn.
camp is a lifetime away ago.
When are you guys doing your Family Feud podcast, by the way?
We're going to do one after signing day.
Yeah.
I keep bringing it. I got a new mic stand so we can
Oh,
set it up for you guys to do the show in here again.
yay. Sarah Josh Myatt says, how does Clay Helton stack up against the new Pac-12 coaches this season, Chip Kelly, Herm Edwards, and the dudes hired at Arizona and OSU?
How do they stack up? I mean, if you look at his,
He has much more recent victories than any of those guys.
Herm Edwards, like, the worst hire in the world. Like, that's just awful. Like, god-awful hire. So you don't have to worry about – you're not going to worry about Arizona State for the next couple of years. You got to worry about Kevin Sumlin at Arizona because he's got Khalil Tate. He's going to recruit – well, he would take the best players out of Arizona when he was at Texas A&M. So he's going to be a force to recruit against. Chip Kelly, some people – I think he's going to be amazeballs. Like, he's really good.
Not sold on it.
Yeah, some people aren't sold. I think, everyone uses offense. Well, why? Because it was freaking good. And he's an innovative mind. I think he's going to be able to come into college
I'm ready for this.
and do a lot. So I think it's not like been a great recruiting class for him this year, but I think in the long term, would you rather have Chip Kelly running your program or Clay Helton? I mean, I would rather have Chip Kelly running my program. So we'll see. But, where does he stack up? Like, if you're trying to rank everybody? Okay, so get your reaction,
Shotgun's
guys. Shotgun's like, no.
bursting at the seams. Go.
I'm not sold on Chip Kelly.
Okay.
You said he's an innovative mind. He was an innovative mind. And then
So
what
then he
happened?
got dumb?
Then
Like-
what happened his last 3 years in the NFL? He
was the NFL.
He stopped innovating. He stopped putting wrinkles to his plays. It just became the same stuff over and over, which is why his offense was pretty good the first couple years, and then it just went.
It's a different sport. It is really,
And it's
literally
also a different college football than when he left. There's now, a lot of stoppages to keep the teams from going and running 80 plays a game or 100 plays a game like he wanted to. He liked to keep defenses on the field all the time. Those things that have been kind of slowed down. There's more opportunities for defenses to sub now. And basically, the game responded to him. The NCAA responded to Chip Kelly. Now, obviously, he changed the game.
Yeah.
That's innovative. What has he done since then, though? I don't think that he's shown the same innovation since when he first came to Oregon and the different wrinkles he was able to do with a lot of the same plays. And maybe teams take away from, look at the NFL tape and say, I see that there's difference. I see what these defenses did. We're able to shut them down, and maybe we can use some of those things, especially Clancy Pendergast knows college and pro. But also, I think the one thing going for him is that the field just went from this big to this big with the difference in hashes. And I think when you change, this is how much space there is on the wide side to this is how much space there is on the wide side, I think it changes a lot of things. So I think he can do some things there, but I'm not sold on him. I'm not saying he won't be good, but I'm not sold on him yet. I'm not saying he's a slam dunk hire like everyone automatically just assumed.
None of us know. I mean, obviously you don't know. I feel pretty confident.
Honestly, I think it'd
be
be hilarious if Herm Edwards was good and Chip Kelly was not. That'd
I'm
be
almost-
so hilarious.
It's to the point now because we do our Pac-12 podcast, so David Woods and we just crush the hire. Every week we talk about how terrible it is when he's doing stuff and you're like, he made some comments about recruiting. You have to talk to these guys all the time. You're like, yeah, that's part of like what you're like. It was like this basic stuff. You're like, oh man, not knowing what the jerseys, all that stuff is funny. But it's almost to the point now where I just want him to like crush it and win, and it just could it be so different than what any of us would expect. But I just cannot see that not flaming out so horribly. So,
John says, "Who will be the emotional leader on offense next season?"
ooh,
Something I've talked about a lot.
Yeah, we've discussed this ad nauseum, I think.
Yeah, you hate this question.
well, I mean, I think it's
Because
important,
they don't
right?
have an answer.
There's
As
a,
of
yeah.
now,
You think she thinks Michael Pittman.
I don't know why, but I think Michael Pittman for some reason. Maybe Amon Ra. He showed some fire in the Army
Oh
All-American.
no, I'm
Bowl.
around. What like if he starts, like he'll be like instantly jumps to the front.
Yeah,
I think
he
Stephen Carr also has a little fire in
can,
him,
yeah.
which I think was subdued because he wasn't like the number one guy. No, you don't think
I
so?
don't think, not in the same regard. I think Amon Ra can come
But
in and
you
be
can
like
have-
Juju was his freshman year, but Juju also had Darius Rogers, who's a more quiet guy.
That's what I'm saying. There's different types of emotional
there-
leader. You have the like screamer yeller guy, which maybe is like Juju, who's like funny, and then you have like a Darius Rogers, who's more like steady but is still a leader.
Well, Juju was funny until he threw his helmet and walked off the practice field.
Okay, whatever.
At times.
But still, there we go.
Always bringing up the negative, Shock.
Yeah,
Well,
come on,
he had some
Shaka.
immaturity, and I could see him on Raw. That's why I think that there has to be a bookend with him for him to
Right.
be
Yes.
a guy that.
I don't
takes
think they
over.
can. The problem is, I don't think you can let Amon Ra be the emotional leader of the team because he goes over the top and will get penalties, and so I don't think that you can let him just go and do whatever he wants. They're gonna have to kind of rein him in a little bit. I would
But
say.
you know who could be his bookend? High school teammate quarterback JT Daniels.
if he's
They work so
From
well
the
together.
sideline, if he's
No,
not
I'm
starting?
saying
with the
could
headset
be.
on. Like,
Yeah.
If he's in, I think then that I think he's a guy that will, whenever he takes over as quarterback, I think he will immediately become the leader in the huddle.
yeah.
I think Tester Troy's calling you BB gun. I don't know why. Is that a thing?
It's a little shot, I guess.
Oh, shotgun. Oh,
Wow.
sorry.
Keely.
No, because in my head, like, shotgun is his name. I don't think of every time I say your name, like, oh, it's a gun. Like, that's not what I'm thinking about. I think of you as a person.
Why? Thank you.
Yeah. Multiple people have made the comment about how when people go to the NFL, they play much better than at USC. Coaching at all? They're stirring up trouble.
That's not necessarily true.
I mean, you've seen that happen sometimes, but it's a different. Players change from one level to the other, from high school to college, from college to the pros. Your role gets different. I mean, it could be expanded, whatever. We've seen players that didn't get much run at USC make a Pro Bowl in the NFL.
Just Jordan Cameron,
Well, what about Matt Castle? He never played, and he's like,
I guess.
he won 11 games with the Patriots. Like, there's examples of that. I mean, David Osbury, I think he did the same thing. Like,
He made the Raiders roster. And that
he was on the. I think he get a Pro Bowl or something.
I don't think so.
I don't know. That's stuff like that kind of happens. It's not like Juju wasn't good in college. He's been, really good in the NFL.
He surprised a bunch of people. That's
Yeah.
why he went in the second round and he became the most productive rookie. You look at other guys like Nickel Roby has played really well, but you can look at the wide receivers and before this year, you'd be like, oh, those guys aren't performing as well as was expected coming out of USC. And then this year they played really well. I think it's an individual, and then also the system you get in. There's a lot of factors that go into whether you're good in the NFL besides just, oh, you got great coaching in college, so you'll be better in the NFL or whatever it may be in that regard. I think there's way too many factors that you can just make an overarching statement about, well, USC players get better in the NFL.
Yeah.
Roderick, we talked about 55 earlier in this Facebook Live, so you can go back on the replay and watch it. The consensus seems to be people are siding with Ryan on the Chip Kelly debate. So
They might be right. Like I'm just not sold on it. I'm not sure it's a slam dunk hire. I think I'm waiting to see. I think that there's some things there that give me pause rather than saying, oh, that's an automatically. Like when Saban came back from the NFL, you're like, hey, Alabama's about to be good. There was no question in my mind because I thought Saban was a really good coach regardless that he struggled at Miami. So with Chip Kelly, I think there's some differences there, and I'm not sold on it yet.
Can we ban people? This Daryl person says, I actually think Hearn will be successful. I'm sorry, we can't let you watch anymore. I'm just kidding, Daryl.
Don't listen to him, Daryl.
I'm rooting for him, too. Like, I got to the point now I'm definitely rooting for him. All right, we should probably wrap things up, right?
Yes, and we ran out of questions, so we're Gucci.
We peacing out? Okay, well, thank you guys. Sorry again for the snafu in the beginning. Maybe it was a little karma because I was like trying to watch the live feed from the Coliseum renovation, and it stopped like 100 times. Like they kept trying to go, it kept stopping. We only did once, but I was like,
I just kept getting updates on my phone because I wasn't going to watch it. I was like, I don't really care about this. And it was like, USC football or USC athletics is live. USC athletics is live.
It stopped after.
I'm like, stop.
It stopped after like 5 seconds and would go again. And I was like, hopefully the renovation goes a little bit better than this live stream. But then they got it going and stuff like, sort of like we did. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out USCfootball.com. We added a ton of members over the last few days. So get on the peristyle. Go talk with all the USC fans and stuff. Talk with me. Talk with Shotgun, Keely, our whole staff. We do appreciate you watching all of this and sending all the questions and putting all the likes and the reactions or the angry faces, whatever you want to do. That's good. And again, sorry for the earlier audio snafu. We'll make sure we get all that stuff taken care of. So signing out.
Fault.
Yeah, it's all me. Keely, Shotgun, Ryan, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
Deuces. Backwards $5.